Desire whispers truths most dare not face. Deep within, it reflects shadows of the mind and echoes of the spirit. Sexual desire is not just a physical urge. It is a window into the hidden patterns that shape our lives. The ancient Shaolin masters knew this well. They taught that when desire runs unchecked, it signals imbalance, an unrest within the soul waiting to be acknowledged. In this video, you will uncover secrets rarely spoken aloud. You will learn how desire exposes attachments we cling to, fears we hide even from ourselves, and wounds that remain unhealed. Beyond the surface, it reveals the architecture of the soul, how our impulses, when ignored, can fracture clarity, weaken focus, and quietly dictate choices. We will explore practices rooted in Shaolin wisdom and mindfulness, showing how awareness transforms raw energy into conscious power. You will see how ancient masters observed desire not as an enemy, but as a teacher, a force that when understood can elevate creativity, inner strength, and spiritual growth. Few recognize that moments of temptation carry lessons capable of reshaping destiny itself. Stay with this journey until the end, and you will discover methods to confront hidden shadows, reclaim your energy, and align desire with higher purpose. This is not a path of suppression, but of mastery, a journey into the depths of your own being where true freedom awaits. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire. Here, ancient teachings ignite modern transformation. If the path of self-mastery calls to you, subscribe now and walk it with us. Your journey into understanding the soul behind desire begins here. Energy moves through the body like water flowing through a river, sometimes gentle, sometimes wild. Sexual energy is no different. It is life itself, a current that can either nourish the spirit or erode it if left unchecked. The Shaolin masters observed this for centuries. They understood that desire is not merely temptation, it is a force, raw and potent, waiting to be directed. When a man or woman surrenders to impulses without awareness, the current scatters, thoughts become fragmented, attention falters, and the mind drifts like leaves in a storm. Soul energy disperses, leaving the body restless and the spirit unbalanced. Many never see the subtle decay that arises from this unconscious indulgence, believing it to be harmless pleasure. Yet the masters knew unchecked desire quietly shapes the trajectory of life. But when harnessed consciously, this same energy transforms. It becomes a spark that ignites creativity, focus, and spiritual insight. Artists, warriors, and sages throughout history discovered this secret. The very force that can fragment the soul can also sharpen the mind and deepen awareness. Breath, movement, and disciplined practice turn desire into vitality. The energy once wasted becomes fuel for meditation, strength, and higher purpose. There are subtle signs along the path. Moments when longing arises with intensity, they are invitations. The Shaolin way teaches not to suppress the current, but to guide it. Awareness acts as the rudder, discipline as the channel, and practice as the vessel. With care, desire flows through the body as light, not as chaos. The river of energy, once respected, becomes an ally rather than a threat. It strengthens rather than diminishes the soul. It teaches that mastery is not denial, but direction, not absence, but alignment. Those who understand this secret move through life with steady presence, their inner current clear and powerful, carrying them toward growth rather than distraction. There is a subtle hunger beneath every impulse, a longing that reaches beyond the body. Lust often wears the disguise of passion, yet it rarely speaks the truth. Many seek validation through desire, chasing fulfillment in the touch or attention of another, hoping to fill emptiness that lives within. The Shaolin masters observed this long ago. The mind that depends on others for worth will always be restless. True mastery begins not in the world outside, but in the silence within. Sexual impulses reveal more than physical appetite. They illuminate hidden fears. The fear of being alone, the doubt of one's own value, the quiet voice that whispers inadequacy. These shadows often go unnoticed, yet they shape behavior, tethering the mind to fleeting pleasures. Without awareness, desire becomes a mirror of dependency, reflecting a soul unsettled. The ancient path teaches another way. Discipline is not harshness against the self, but a form of liberation. Through mindful observation, the energy of desire can be understood rather than indulged. Emotional independence is cultivated when one can experience longing without surrendering to it. It is the ability to feel, to recognize the stirrings of the heart and body, and yet remain anchored in self-possession. The practice is subtle. Breath, stillness, and reflection reveal the currents that drive impulse. Awareness creates space between thought and action, between longing and surrender. The more one cultivates presence, the less desire dominates. What once sought validation outside now finds completion within. In this quiet mastery, the soul learns resilience. Desire becomes a teacher, not a master. Shadows no longer command, and impulses are transformed into insight. The path is patient, demanding attention to the inner world, and in return, it offers freedom, clarity, and the enduring strength of self-possession. Every desire begins as a whisper in the mind, subtle yet persistent. To notice it without flinching is the first lesson of mastery. The Shaolin masters understood that most people act as though desire is a command, a force outside themselves. Yet the path to inner strength begins by simply observing without judgment, without rush. Awareness alone is transformative. Mindfulness acts as a mirror, revealing the hidden origins of impulses. Sometimes lust arises from boredom, an attempt to escape the quiet. Other times it is habit, repeated so often that the body moves before the mind can intervene. And sometimes, beneath the surface, lies a deeper longing, a search for connection, for meaning, for wholeness. When each urge is observed carefully, its source becomes clear. This clarity allows the mind to respond rather than react. The practice is gentle yet profoundly powerful. Sitting in stillness, breathing steadily, and witnessing the stirrings of the body and mind, one discovers a space between impulse and action. In that space, choices emerge. What once felt compulsive can now be guided by awareness. Energy that was scattered through thoughtless indulgence can be redirected, shaped by intention rather than habit. Through mindfulness, desire is no longer a master that pulls from the outside. It becomes a teacher from within, revealing the patterns of attachment, fear, and craving. Each moment of observation strengthens the capacity to act consciously, to cultivate discipline, and to preserve inner harmony. The Shaolin Way teaches patience with the self, acceptance without surrender. Desire is acknowledged, yet it does not dictate. Impulses are seen, understood, and integrated. In this careful awareness, the soul gains freedom, and the energy of desire transforms into clarity, focus, and quiet strength, a river flowing in the direction of mastery rather than chaos. Desire often feels urgent, like a fire that must be fed. Yet when it is followed blindly, it binds the mind to fleeting pleasures, chaining attention to what cannot endure. The body may revel in the moment, but the soul remembers the cost, restlessness, distraction, and the quiet erosion of freedom. Shaolin masters observed that those who cannot release their grasp on desire live as captives, mistaking indulgence for fulfillment. True liberation begins with understanding impermanence. Everything in life is in constant motion, pleasure rises, fades, and vanishes. When this truth is deeply realized, the grip on desire softens. The Shaolin path does not demand denial of the senses, but teaches letting go without resistance, embracing the flow of life without attachment. Desire can still be experienced, but it no longer dictates the mind. There's a profound strength in this balance. To feel desire fully, yet remain unbound by it, is a sign of inner mastery. The soul grows in this space between feeling and surrender. Each encounter with longing becomes an opportunity to observe, to refine, and to direct energy consciously rather than reactively. Freedom is cultivated not by avoiding temptation, but by walking alongside it with awareness. The body learns discipline, the mind gains clarity, and the spirit cultivates resilience. Even the most intense impulses lose their power when met with calm presence. Pleasure becomes a teacher, not a tyrant, showing the difference between enjoyment and enslavement. Through this practice, life is no longer a cycle of chasing and losing. Desire flows like wind across a still lake, stirring the surface but leaving the depths undisturbed. The soul learns to move freely, anchored in self-possession, able to engage with the world fully without being bound by its fleeting currents. In this harmony, liberation is found, and mastery reveals itself not as control but as graceful freedom. Beneath every surge of desire lies a shadow, often unseen but profoundly present. Strong sexual urges are rarely just about the body, they point to parts of ourselves we have hidden, repressed, or ignored. Ancient wisdom, including Shaolin practice, teaches that these shadows, old wounds, unacknowledged fears, or cravings buried in the psyche, are the soil from which unchecked desire grows. To ignore them is to feed the unrest within, leaving the soul restless and fragmented. Shadow work is not easy. It requires courage to look at the uncomfortable corners of the mind where past pain lingers or suppressed emotions stir. Each urge becomes a signal, a guide pointing to what has not been integrated. A fear of rejection, a memory of abandonment, a longing for connection, these threads often weave beneath the surface of sexual impulse. To confront them is to hold a mirror to the self with honesty and compassion. In the quiet moments of reflection, when breath is steady and awareness is present, the shadows begin to speak. Observing them without judgment allows their energy to be understood and transformed. Impulses once driven by unconscious patterns can now be approached with clarity and intention. This is the work of inner mastery, embracing what is hidden, not to suppress it, but to integrate it. The Shaolin path emphasizes that only by facing the darkness can the soul become whole. Energy that once scattered into compulsive acts can now circulate freely, nourishing mind, body, and spirit. Discipline here is gentle but firm, a consistent practice of awareness, reflection, and acceptance. Those who avoid this work remain captive to their impulses, wandering in cycles of longing and dissatisfaction. But those willing to enter the shadow, to witness and integrate, discover a depth of peace and freedom that transforms desire from chaos into a teacher of inner strength, clarity, and wholeness. Desire carries immense power, like a river surging through the body. Left unchecked, it can flood the mind, scattering energy and clarity. Yet the ancient masters saw another path. They taught that this energy is not an enemy, but a current that can be guided toward creation, insight, and higher purpose. Sexual energy, when understood and directed, becomes a force for transformation rather than distraction. The practice begins with awareness. Meditation trains the mind to witness impulses without being swept away. Breathwork channels the body's vitality, turning intensity into calm, focused energy. Movement, whether through martial practice, dance, or mindful exercise, grounds desire in presence, allowing it to flow instead of combust. Each technique does not deny the force within, it shapes it, like a sculptor guiding molten metal into form. Transmutation is not suppression, it is conscious redirection. The energy once spent on fleeting pleasure can now fuel art, study, strength, or spiritual growth. The Shaolin masters emphasize that true mastery emerges when desire becomes an ally. Creative projects flourish, insight deepens, and the body gains resilience. What once scattered now consolidates, and the spirit moves with a quiet, potent rhythm. This practice demands patience and discipline. Impulses will arise, sometimes with intensity, testing the mind's steadiness. Each moment of observation, each deliberate breath, and each mindful movement strengthens the ability to guide the current rather than be guided by it. Through this redirection, desire becomes a teacher, a channel for higher expression. It transforms the raw, restless energy of the body into clarity, focus, and purpose. In this way, the fire of desire no longer consumes, but illuminates, lighting the path of mastery, deepening presence, and revealing the subtle power that lies within every human being. The stirrings of desire often speak a deeper truth than the body alone can reveal. Sexual energy reflects the harmony or discord between body and spirit. When the body is fatigued, the mind restless, or the spirit unsettled, desire can surge like a storm, demanding attention and consuming clarity. The Shaolin masters observed this long ago. Imbalance in daily life is mirrored in the intensity and unpredictability of impulses. Overindulgence is rarely just indulgence. It signals neglect of sleep, nourishment, movement, or mental stillness. When one disregards the needs of the body, desires grow insistent, seeking satisfaction that lies elsewhere. The mind becomes scattered, and the spirit restless, yearning for alignment it cannot yet recognize. Awareness of these patterns is the first step toward mastery. The path of balance begins with disciplined practice. Exercise strengthens the body, fostering vitality and resilience. Meditation trains the mind, cultivating presence and the ability to observe impulses without being driven by them. Mindful living, attending to diet, rest, and emotional regulation, creates a foundation where desire is no longer a force of chaos, but a reflection of integrated energy. The ancient masters understood that sexual energy, like all life energy, follows the path of least resistance. When the body is nourished, the mind clear, and the spirit centered, desire flows naturally without overwhelming. It becomes a guide rather than a master, a reminder of vitality rather than a source of distraction. Through consistent practice, energy moves harmoniously through the system. Desire is aligned with higher purpose, fueling creativity, focus, and inner growth. The body supports the spirit, and the spirit steadies the mind. In this balance, mastery is not an abstract ideal. It is lived daily, in the rhythm of breath, movement, and conscious awareness, transforming raw impulses into a force that elevates rather than diminishes. Desire, when unchecked, has a subtle way of consuming more than the body. It distracts the mind, fragments attention, and clouds judgment. The most ordinary actions can become difficult when impulses are allowed to dominate. The Shaolin masters observed that even small indulgences repeated without awareness slowly erode the clarity and strength of the spirit. What seems harmless in the moment carries consequences that unfold quietly over time. Excess is rarely loud. It whispers. It manifests as restlessness, scattered focus, and a tendency to act without reflection. Decisions that once came from calm discernment now arise from compulsion. Energy leaks from the body, leaving a sense of fatigue and unease, while the mind chases fleeting satisfaction that never truly satisfies. The masters taught that this is not a punishment, but a natural outcome of misdirected energy. The harsh truth is simple: indulgence without mindfulness weakens the foundation of inner mastery. Spiritual growth is hindered when the currents of desire dominate thought and action. Strength of mind, body, and spirit comes from restraint paired with awareness, not denial born of fear or guilt. By observing impulses, understanding their roots, and directing them consciously, the soul preserves its vitality and sharpness. The path is disciplined but not rigid. It asks for presence in every choice, for patience in moments of temptation, and for courage to face the subtle ways desire can pull one off course. The Shaolin approach does not demonize longing. It warns that ignoring the rules of inner balance invites suffering. Recognizing the danger of excess is the first step toward freedom. Awareness restores control, turning potential weakness into strength. Each moment of conscious restraint fortifies clarity, sharpens focus, and cultivates resilience. In facing the truth of unchecked desire, the spirit learns the discipline that transforms impulse into wisdom and distraction into deliberate action. True mastery is revealed not in suppression nor in surrender, but in the delicate balance between the two. Sexual desire, like all-powerful energy, is neither enemy nor ultimate reward. It becomes a teacher when approached with awareness, guiding each choice with clarity rather than compulsion. The Shaolin path shows that mastery arises when desire is met with presence and each action is intentional. Conscious choices honor both body and soul. The body is respected, allowed to experience vitality and pleasure without being enslaved by it. The soul, quiet yet observant, is acknowledged, its deeper needs of purpose, connection, and wholeness are considered alongside the impulses of the flesh. This dual awareness transforms every moment of longing into an opportunity for insight. What once pulled the mind outward now invites reflection inward, shaping actions that are deliberate, measured, and aligned. Alignment is cultivated through discipline. Meditation sharpens perception, allowing one to see the currents of desire without being swept away. Breath and movement anchor energy, transforming intensity into steady presence. Journaling, reflection, and self-inquiry illuminate patterns, helping the practitioner distinguish between fleeting urges and deeper truths. Each conscious choice strengthens the mind's ability to act in harmony with both body and spirit, building integrity that flows beyond any single moment. The results are subtle yet profound. Inner peace emerges when the soul and body move in synchrony, no longer in conflict. Desire becomes a force that energizes rather than distracts, that deepens connection rather than fragments attention. Relationships, work, and creative endeavors all benefit from this alignment, grounded in self-awareness and clarity. Through this practice, one learns that mastery is lived moment by moment. The currents of desire remain, but they no longer control the course. Instead, each choice carries intention, each action reflects integrity, and the soul moves through life with quiet strength, balance, and freedom. Sexual desire is more than a fleeting impulse. It reflects the deeper currents of your soul. It warns of imbalance, yet also guides toward growth and self-understanding. When approached with awareness, discipline, and honest shadow work, this energy transforms from distraction into a source of clarity, creativity, and spiritual strength. True mastery does not come from denial or suppression. It arises from conscious engagement, observing impulses, understanding their roots, and choosing actions that honor both body and soul. Each moment of reflection, each mindful decision strengthens the mind, steadies the spirit, and aligns energy with higher purpose. As you move through your day, allow this insight to guide you. Notice your impulses without judgment, redirect energy thoughtfully, and cultivate practices that balance body, mind, and spirit. In this way, desire becomes a teacher, not a master, leading you toward inner peace and authentic presence. May each step you take be grounded in awareness and intention. May the energy within you flow freely, supporting your growth and illuminating your path. If this teaching resonates, join our community at Shaolin Soulfire. Like this video and subscribe, and continue walking the path of mastery, clarity, and calm strength with us.